Recording.
Xbox Series X.
Now I'm ready.
Wow. Xbox. I'm going to turn my gain up just a little bit. Xbox. There it is. Okay. Do I sound good to you?
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Ready to go?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the State of the Xbox Empire. Empire, not fire. Empire. I'm going to start this over again. We're already off the rails.
It's a great start.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the State of the Xbox Empire for December 2019, the last month of 2019, the last month of the decade. We are here to discuss, you know what, the series, this particular series episode, we'll be discussing Xbox. And to join me, obviously, is one Mr. Donnie Reese. Donnie, welcome back.
Greetings, Kooplings. What's going on, Nathan?
Oh, you know, new consoles to talk about, new controllers to talk about, all kinds of fun stuff happening. It is exciting. This is a great time of year, and you know what? I personally was not expecting this to be already revealed. I was thinking we would not see anything about the next console until E3. Mm-hmm. But how wrong was I? You know. So we're just gonna hop right into it. We're going to talk about the Xbox Series X announcement that was at the Game Awards this past Thursday. And just off the bat, this was a surprise announcement. We weren't expecting it. Jeff Keighley was kind of cagey as he went into this announcement, and they, had this really cool CG trailer where you don't know exactly what they're talking about. It's looking at all this like environmental stuff, and then all of a sudden a car comes in, and then a FIFA player comes in. Then you see the Chief. So like there's no questioning what this is at that point. And then you see the form factor of the console, the new controller on there as well. And then Phil Spencer takes the stage and starts talking about it. But before we go on with what Phil says about the console, the initial reaction, Donnie, what was your take?
Oh man, I was quite surprised. It threw me off, just the sheer look of it. I think most people probably have that impression. It's tall. It's not long. It's not a traditional console. It's a tall cube. Now, I will say we've learned a lot about it since the initial unveiling. Like my initial reaction, 5 seconds of seeing that picture pop up on Twitter, is I don't think the giant Titantron of the tower behind them like gave any sort of scale, because when I first saw it, I literally thought that's a PC tower, as in I literally thought you were going to like sit it on the ground and plug it into your TV like a PC tower. I was thinking Dell PC tower, box. That's what I had in mind. It's much smaller than that. We've got pretty good specs that have come out so far. Most people are saying 12 by 6 by 6. So it's a cube about a foot tall. Makes it just maybe slightly bigger than like some of the Amazon and home speakers and things like that you can put out there. So it's pretty cool. We've also learned that you can set it sideways. So if you just want to put it sideways, you can. It does have that vent though. It's like if you're going to set it sideways and stick it in a cubby, you got to be somewhat concerned with airflow. But it's quite impressive. I like it. I think it's bold. The more and more I read about it, and the more I heard people tell me about it, and the more things I saw on Twitter, like I really like it. I think it's this bold strategy. And for all the things that people are saying about the name, I think one of the many benefits of them taking this bold strategy in the look is I don't think this console will ever be confused with another console. It looks like no other console ever looked. I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's really all that needs to happen is I want the one that looks like this. Like you just do that, and like there is no other thing.
Give me the rectangle.
Yeah, like there's no other thing. Like that's it. It's very bold and it's very different, and it's somewhat striking. I really like the industrial type design. I mean, I think most people, all of my electronics, I like to be that way. So I'm looking forward to. I have down here in my basement, here in my little cave, I have an old dresser that my TV sits on. and it's just a standard length dresser, and my TV sits on it, and I have one console on one side of the dresser and the other console on the other side of the dresser, and my Xbox One X currently sits standing up because there's not enough room to lay it down. So this is a very easy swap out and plug and play for me. I'm just going to unhook one and hook the other one in and sit it down. It's going to look better than ever now because of this new design. Plus that LED light at the top, that's amazing. Two things about that. One, I hope you can turn it off, because if you don't want an LED light, it's going to bother you. I'm gonna leave it on, but I understand where other people come from. They may not want it on. I hope you can change the color, or like somehow the color syncs to the picture on the TV, or if you can just manually change the color if they give you a few options, anything like that. Like all of that would be awesome.
When I first saw it, I kind of thought it looked like two GameCubes stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Kind of like that kind of a form factor. Because they had the disc drive there, so you could kind of tell how big it was going to be because of the disc drive being there still, and then the controller sitting in front of it. But, I think they kind of wanted to, the way that they showed it, they wanted you to picture it as this big box in your mind, because bigger is better, right? So that's kind of a marketing strategy, so they can start to kind of associate them with, oh, I want that bigger, more powerful box that's towering over these other boxes, right?
I gotcha.
And I the internet has been no slouch with the memes that have come.
Oh, it's a meme machine. It is so good.
There's one that I saw today that the Series X is a refrigerator, the Switch dock is a toaster, and the PlayStation was a frying pan or something like that. I can't remember, but it was, there's all kinds of memes about this, what's going on, and people are putting it in place of buildings and stuff like that.
Have you seen the one where the Xbox, I think it was in the initial trailer, where it's like floating over water? I've seen people take that and like turn it into like the Death Stranding shot that we saw with like the people in the air, and it's just a bunch of Series X's like standing over like Norman Reedus. That was really, really good.
Or also, he's been carrying the Xbox as one of his delivery packages across his wasteland. I mean, there's no limit of possibilities here, and it's been pretty fun to watch it. But when I first saw it, I mean, I like the way it looks. The one thing you don't see on the front of it that concerns me a little bit, and who knows if it'll be a big issue, is there's no USB ports on the front. So I don't know if they're all going to be on the back, if they might be on one of the sides. Like, they wouldn't be on the foot side, and they wouldn't be on the top side, so they have to be all on the back, right?
They got to be in the back.
So curious about that, how that'll work, and if they give us more USB ports this time, because let's be honest, I need like 4 USB ports minimum on my console, because external hard drive, the dongle for my wireless headset, play and charge cable for my controller, and then a fourth one just in case I need to plug something else into it, some other peripheral that pops up.
Wow, that's
so I
a
need
lot.
4.
Yeah, I need, all right, so the external thing is interesting because it's been plug and play this generation, but next generation, we're moving to a new format. And like how games will play or can play from a different type of storage device, I'm not sold on the idea that we're just going to be able to plug in external hard drives, or at least the ones we have now. Might have to buy matching ones, and then that requires maybe a USB-C connection. You may not be able to use standard USB. So I don't really know how to think about that right now. Like there's a lot of questions there, because 1 terabyte is not going to get you much as we move forward.
Especially for that next generation of files.
Yeah.
I mean, you want 4K, you want all that fantastic visuals that we saw displayed. That takes size. As we've learned from this generation, Gears of War 4, I think, is the biggest game on my console because of all the textures they added for the Xbox One X version of that, and just like, Red Dead and things like that, how big those games are. But, so we talked a little bit about the form factor of the Xbox console itself, which to me looks fine. It'll fit in my console or my home entertainment center if I lay it down. I'm not sure about the standing up piece, because if I stood it up, where it would go is behind my speaker bar and in front of my TV, which is mounted on the wall. I'm not sure exactly how tall it's going to be.
And all of the heat is going to be going directly.
Right.
Yeah.
So the heat's a question too, and then also the LED. So if I can't turn it off, I definitely don't want that on there. So for me, it's most likely going to go inside my console, because I believe there's a 6-inch opening there. But, and I say console, I mean home entertainment center.
Yeah.
You can call them different things. So I just wanted to, point that out as far as that goes. But We also saw the new controller that's going to be shipping with the Series X, which is an enhancement of the current controller that we see as a standard. It has some of the effects of the Series 2 Elite controller. So we see an enhanced D-pad, which is fantastic. So the Series 1 Elite controller and this new one have both had fantastic D-pads. I've championed the D-pad usage for a while now. If you're a D-pad user like I am, different games use it now for like Apex uses it for different things like thanking people and emotes and things. But it's been enhanced to kind of have the omnidirectional or the 8-directional.
Well, like it
D-pad.
rolls. It's not even. I was just about to say I'm not sure what is it technically called a D-pad, because it's not a D-pad at all. Like saying D-pad is giving people that don't know maybe the wrong impression, because it's like it's a bowl. It's a circular bowl that just sits there, and it's patterned. Like you've got edges that you can feel, so it feels great to the thumb. The thing that I like about it most is it's got edges basically, and omnidirectional edges, so you can feel when you're pointing up or to the left or to the right. But if you've used a D-pad for a long time, anytime you've got to hold down 2 or more directions at a time, anytime you got to kind of get quasi thumbstick with a D-pad, this is a huge improvement. The moment that I had my Elite, like I put that one on there and it's all I play with. And the new one looks even better. Like the one on this one for the Series X, it looks like a little more pronounced, a little more D-pad in there.
I don't think that you can take that. So my thought is on this new one, you probably can't remove it like you can with the Series 2 Elite. Because with the Series 2 Elite, you can remove it and put like different other D-pads on there. And I'm going to just use the term D-pad until they tell us differently.
Sure.
So I think that this one's probably just going to be stationary on the controller itself. But we also saw, Donnie, a new button that you might like called the share button.
The share button. I'm real upset that this wasn't, like, if they known that they were going to do this, I'm real upset that this isn't on the Elite 2 controller, because they marketed the Elite 2 controller around, future proofing. They were like, it's going to be next gen. Like they said that before the controller, 6 months before the controller came out, they were like, you're going to be able to use this controller forever. The Elite 2, it's the best controller ever. And then a month after it launches, they're like, here's a new controller with a brand new button. A very useful button, a button that should have been there to begin with. And it's like in the exact same place that the profile button is on the Elite 2. And I'm a little upset that I can't map that profile button. It's like, let me give up the need for, for multiple profiles and let me just do my screenshots and stuff with the button. Just slightly little sting there. I'm a little upset. Because as I've been saying this for a long time, the sharing of screenshots and stuff on Xbox has been like a huge pain. And anybody that plays any other console knows what that's like. And I'm not exactly sure why they held out for so long. I'm not sure if it was just to try and differentiate. But the whole hitting the Xbox home to pull up the menu and wait for the overlay to load to then pick an option and press another button is just bad. It's just a bad way of doing it.
So I don't know about your playstyle, but when I do a screenshot or when I share, I press the Xbox Jewel, and then I either press Y for screenshot or X for recording. That's it.
Yeah, but you have to wait for the command to prompt. It's normally not even that fast. Like I've hit the Xbox Jewel, and there's like a good second maybe or two delay before it pops up, and it's like, hey, pick one, and then you pick one, and then it goes back down. It's just too slow. Whereas the other ones are literally instant because it's a button. It's the share button on the PlayStation and the Switch. You just click it, and that's it. It's been shared. Or you click and hold, and it's now, video. I don't know. I wish they would have put it on there. I'm happy that they are finally moving in this direction. Like, this has probably been the biggest controller change. This generation is just the inclusion of share button. And obviously this generation has been huge in terms of social connectivity and how people are streaming and the rise of Twitch and Mixer and YouTube and all of the things they're doing. And you've got to lean into that. You can't be that far behind the game. So I'm happy to see them catch up.
Now, my thoughts on the share button. We both have the Elite Series 2.
Yep.
And I've got the Pro controller for the Nintendo, and I've got the PS4 controller, and they both have a share button on them. On the Pro controller especially, when I was playing Zelda, and I was trying to find the map button just to open up the map really quickly, I don't know how many times I've taken just a random screenshot.
I've done that too.
It was annoying. I got in the way because I didn't want to take a screenshot.
I've always said that too, because on the Joy-Cons, the button is at the bottom, so it's very easy to not press it. But you're right. In the Stadia controller is actually the same way. Like the amount of screenshots I've taken with the Stadia controller is the same, because they put it right next to your start and select buttons, and you're using those buttons all the time in game. Like that's bad. Like I love the placement of this new Series X controller because it's right in the middle of the controller, like at the bottom, so it's like right off the right thumbstick. I can't imagine hitting that one by mistake.
Yeah, and so my point being is like for me, having a dedicated share button is annoying because I never really use it on the other consoles anyway. I've only ever taken screenshots on Apex Legends for stuff here, and I don't do that much. So for me, having a dedicated button is a waste of space, and I would wonder for people who use the Elite Series 2 controllers, it's marketed to those professional type wannabe gamers. Would they care about the share button? You know? Are we, because you're coming at it from this is my controller for everyday use. I'm an everyday player. I'm not necessarily focusing on pro play. I wish I would have had it. But if you market it directly for those people who are doing the pro play, are they taking screenshots and are they sharing as much?
Sure.
But caveat to that, obviously, you can map a paddle button or any of the buttons. You can even map one of the D-pad buttons. Yeah. You could even map one of the D-pad buttons to to take a share, to use that sharing setting.
And I didn't know that you could do that until you said that when I brought it up during the unveiling. I have the Elite 2. I've messed with the button mapping just barely, but I didn't know you could map commands. I never really dove into it that much because, to be quite honest, I didn't plan on using the paddles a whole lot. So you've given me a whole new use for my paddles. The first thing I did after the first thing I did after you told me that, I literally came downstairs and plugged it up and mapped my video and screen share. And I still got to tell you, I still press those paddles momentarily at times where I don't want to. Like in a tense moment, or I'm like say I'm holding my controller and I reach for something, so obviously the other hand picks up the weight of the controller. Sometimes I'll tap that pedal or that paddle, and I really do wish I could have just mapped it to the profile button, or I wish they would have shipped the Elite 2 with this button on it. Like they knew they were doing it. Like this is by design, so they can launch an Elite 3. I know exactly why this is happening. They were working on it. They're like, nah, we'll do it after we launch the new console. And it's just
right.
Put the extra button on there.
2 years.
Yeah, or let us map the profile button. I'd be very hesitant to map an actual button for that type of command because the game might use that button. You know, like I'm weird that way. I don't want to actually use a button that somebody might, require in game. And I don't map my controls every game. Like that's way too much for me. I don't care about any of that. I just want to play the game. So, but I'm going to use the paddle. You've given me a reason to use the paddles. I've put the paddles back on. I got the shortest ones, and I put them in I think the bottom slot. So that's where I don't press as much. So it's probably just a matter of me getting used to it.
Yeah. So we've talked about the controller. We talked about the console itself, and I think it looks just fine. I've seen a lot of the mock-up for custom skins that people have made for it, like SpongeBob and Minecraft and
that
stuff.
Minecraft one is hot. I love that thing. That thing is great because it's a cube. It makes sense.
I'm just waiting for one to be, like a Metal Gear Solid box, like Snake hides it or something like that.
That's good too. I like that.
But let's talk about what Phil Spencer says when he comes on the stage. Now, he said one thing, and since I've seen some articles that say something a little bit different. So he said it was 2 times the power of the Xbox One X, but some of the articles I've read have said it's 4 times the power.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that the articles that were posted are probably more accurate because maybe he just misspoke on the stage, and those articles have been, more meticulously pruned. As far as what we saw, so the CG trailer, I'm not going to put any credence into because it's a CG trailer. They can make it look really fancy. But what we did see with the in-game engine trailer, not in-game footage, but the in-game engine trailer for Setsuna's Sacrifice 2, or Setsuna Saga, that looked fantastic. And when you see the side-by-side shots from the Xbox One X, like look of her face to what we see from the in-engine shot, it is... I mean, even though the Xbox One X is and still looks great, it is a night and day difference. She looks almost lifelike in the Series X. So what we saw after, with what Phil said, what stood out to you between the Setsuna's Saga trailer and what Phil was talking about there?
I mean, Hellblade 2 looks incredible. I mean, you already said it yourself. It looks amazing. It looks really, really amazing, and I think
I need to finish that game.
You need to finish a lot of games. You need to quit. We're going to put you. We're going to have an Apex intervention for you.
Well, I am now Apex series or Legend, whatever. My season level is 110, so it's maxed out. So I might be able to take some time to play other games now.
Hellblade was such a great game. I was going to say I'm really glad that that this was the one that they used to show off. It's new, it's brand new, it's new to the scene. A newly acquired exclusive. Nothing. And I understand the place that Halo and Forza and stuff have, but like it's new, right? It's like a new IP. It's got a little new sizzle on it. It's not something you've seen before. So I think or at least for me, it felt a little more impressive. And to be quite honest with you, this is one of my favorite games in Xbox's entire catalog. I was so excited for them picking up this developer. So I was really, really happy to see that this game lead in the trailer was just epic, and like that music, and you see your face, and I was like, oh my man, like this is gonna be great. I can't wait. I have no idea when we're gonna get it. That's the only thing I was thinking about. I was like, man, they're gonna show off a game that's probably not a launch title, and I imagine
early in development.
Yeah, it's probably not a first year title. It's probably year 2 or 3 title for the Series X. So that's a little interesting, but I'm still happy that they showed it off. In terms of his spiel, one, I didn't watch the Game Awards. I don't watch them. I didn't watch them live. I have seen the highlights because I wanted, after they announced the console, I wanted to see what that was. So I checked that on YouTube. Didn't he say? I remember he talked about 8K.
Well, they'll be able to do up to 8K, right, at some point in the generation.
So with all of this stuff, basically, I am in Digital Foundry. I trust. So I don't really care about any of these specs until Digital Foundry has their hands on it, can tell me what they mean. Because one of the things that I have talked about, if we talked about next gen talks on the PSVG podcast over the last year, is teraflops aren't the only measurement for power anymore. We have the new GPUs that are going to be able to do things more efficiently. So the raw teraflop power might be not the jump that you want to be. It may not be 2 or 4 times or 6 or 18 teraflop or whatever the teraflop number is. Doesn't necessarily tell the story, especially when you add in the faster writing time with these new SSDs. And like all of that combined, you're going to see an experience that you can't measure simply with a teraflop number. And you're going to have to see it. It's going to have some sort of gameplay. So until folks go hands-on with it, to be quite honest with you, when I hear it, when I read it, it's like in one ear and like right out the other. I'm like, okay, great. It's like we saw that with the last Xbox, right? And it wasn't until people got it and we started, well, it's 900p and it's upscales, right? Until people go hands-on with it, I won't believe it. I will believe this, and we've said this on our podcast basically since the induction. I do believe it's the most powerful console that's coming. I believe they have probably multiple SKUs and setups at priced ranges, and I believe they will select one to make sure that they have some marketing leg up. I'm not saying it's going to be the fastest or whatever. However they want to do it, they have something that they think Sony and nobody else can either meet them at a higher price range. Maybe, I don't know, but I believe they believe in that mantra. That's ultimately what I'm trying to say. I believe they believe that it's important for them to say it's the most powerful, and I'll continue to believe them in that until proven wrong.
So, talking about pricing, as you mentioned there, I've kind of perused Reddit and some of those other spots where they're talking about what we know about what the console is going to have to do, and versus the current pricing of like GPUs and CPUs and SSDs. And basically, they're saying from what they know now about all the components that are going to be in this thing to kind of get what Phil was describing, it's going to be close to about $800 to $900 from just those component pieces, because like the GPU I think was around $400, the CPU was around $250 to $300. Then you had the optical drive. Oh, and I don't think that include the SSD that they have there, which those are pricey too.
The SSD is going to be like $300 or $400. Because even non-NVMe SSDs, if you get a 1 terabyte, just straight SSD, they're still $200-$300 at this point. Like that's where they are. Now we're talking about a whole step up, like a whole different generation of SSDs. Those are more expensive than that. The numbers that I've been seeing floated around, I was actually reading an article right before we hit start. talking about how they thought they could get it to $399, obviously selling at a loss. They were taking the normal console approach to market, where you launch at a loss and you make up for it because you commit to selling that piece of hardware for 5 or 6 years. So you lose in years 1 and 2, you break even in year 3, you start gaining in years 4 and 5, and you make your money back. That's typically the way that these hardware manufacturers do it. So it was interesting that they thought they could get $399. What they were saying was they expect the build of the console, including the parts and everything, because you have to factor in that they're going to buy these parts en masse. They're going to commit to selling them or buying them for years. So there's a lot of negotiating. You can't just like go to, iBuyPower.com and start picking out parts. Like, it's different. All of that's factoring in, transportation and labor and all that. Like, all that stuff goes out the window when you buy on that scale. So they were saying they think they could build the box for around $600. And they were saying that means that they'll probably get to the $499 part. And if they want to get real competitive, that's possible they could eat a loss and maybe cut some corners that we don't know about right now, and even get it down to the $399 route, which I think that's the number that most people are expecting, hoping, willing to pay for. Like, people are willing to go in going, $400 is an acceptable price for a console upgrade. It's when you go over $400 that people get angry and they get upset. And then, so it's interesting. We were talking about that last week in the Discord. I think it's very, very interesting because there's all these rumors that there's a cheaper box, right? And there's this Lockhart thing that's going around. It was reconfirmed in the past couple of weeks that there's a cheaper box. And my initial reaction to that, because one, I think it makes sense with the rise of xCloud and everything. It makes sense. You don't need to buy the bigger box to play the bigger game. You just need to adopt streaming. So sell a cheaper box that comes with that trade-off caveat and get more people signed up to Game Pass and Xbox Live. Like, that makes the world of sense to me. So I believe them when these reports come out to say that there's a cheaper box. I believe them. I think there is. My question, though, is if there's a cheaper next-gen box, does that mean does that give Microsoft the leeway to go over the 400 mark for the expensive box? Because, and it was funny because I think it does. But when I broached that idea, nobody agreed with me. Everybody hated that idea. And I get it. Nobody wants, like, I don't want to pay more than I have to get it. I understand nobody wants to pay a lot of money for it. But I am taking the approach that if they tell me that it's worth it, if they prove to me that the more expensive price gets me something I can't get from anybody else, I'm willing to pay more. I'm happy to pay them more. If it's future-proofed, if I don't have to buy another one in 2 years, if it's the best that I can possibly get, then I'm happy to pay a premium price for a premium piece of hardware. But you don't have to. You'd have this other box, which would be very much kind of like the Xbox One X, but it would still have new GPU, new SSD, right? So like, this cheaper box isn't going to be super cheap. It's going to be $300-$400. It's a new console. And you're going to get a lot of benefits just from having, the new GPU and the SSD. It's going to be faster. You're going to get all of those benefits, but you're not going to be the raw hardware power that they're talking about with the Series X. And I'm here for that. Like, when I play Xbox, that's what I play Xbox for. I want to be blown away by the visuals on my screen. I want it to run as best as it possibly can. So if Digital Foundry is like, we have no idea how they crammed this much technology in this box for $600, like, I'm there. I'm sold. But I don't know how other people are going to feel about that, because, like I said, when I broached it to the Discord, everybody hated that idea. Nobody wanted to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the more powerful unit, 500 has to be that point, because that's what the X launched at. And I think when you look at launching the X and launching this, it's been 2 years now since the X came out. I think about there. The market has probably changed enough so that way technology has that cost, because it's $350 now you can get an X for.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be surprising to me if they could launch it at 500 for that more the upper tier Series X. But I also don't like that they're doing, or the rumors of them doing, the two different units. We saw the issue with that. Like, if you look now between the original Xbox One, the S, and the X, and you put, like, I don't know, Halo 5 in all those scenarios, and it plays differently in all those. and it's hampered by being the lowest common denominator capable. So those developers have to develop it for it to run on Xbox One hardware, right?
But
so
do
using
they?
that as an
Like,
analog.
with the power of xCloud, but do they? I know a lot of people are taking that approach, like it has to run on Lockhart, but running on Lockhart could mean it can be streamed on Lockhart. Like, it's possible.
It's possible. I mean, if xCloud gets to that point where it works like that, then okay, I see how.
And
Uh,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but also with a new GPU that's more efficient and an SSD, running on Lockhart might mean 1080p 30. And I know that these new games are gonna be big and stuff, but that seems very plausible and like in the wheelhouse for what like like the Xbox One X should be able to do that for most games. If you gave it a better GPU that's more efficient and an SSD, it should be able to do that for quite some time. Like 1080p 30, like if that's your baseline for this bottom tier, I think most game, like I have no doubt that, Hellblade can do that on a lower tier hardware. If like, because we're saying lower tier hardware, but the lower tier hardware is still better than the Xbox One X that we have. So it's not like it's some trash. It's a very capable set of hardware. So,
Right.
I mean, considering that The Witcher 3 can run on a Switch, I think Lockhart's fine. I think it'll be able to,
though? Can it really
It
run
can.
on Switch?
I've seen it.
The title screen, maybe.
I think Lockhart will be just fine. I think developers, they scale to PCs and everything else. Like I think it'd be just fine over there.
All right. So my thoughts, obviously, I think they should just focus on one unit, get that one unit out the door at $500. I think that would be their case to win the generation, quote unquote.
Well, if we run into the same situation we had last time, what if the Series X is $499 and what if the PlayStation 5 is $399? Like that's a big deal. They have to be price competitive.
If that's the case, I don't see, because the case for launching at $100 more for the Xbox One was because of the Kinect and having the hardware in there, which presumably they're not going to launch with the Kinect this time. Right. And I could see them. I mean, if they price it low enough for that $499 mark, because if PS5 does launch at that, they have comparable hardware on the inside. That's your range there. But then if you want the instant upgrade to like the more powerful unit, then paying the extra $100 at $500, I think that is the key.
Yeah,
right there.
I think that's what they're planning on doing. I think the Lockhart is the $399 box, and I think the Series X will be the $499 box. Like if you were to ask me to place a bet, that'd be my bet. I think the Series X will be $499. It'll be $500, and I think that price. I don't think Sony wants to go to that price. I'm not sure if they will or not, but I think their history, based on what happened to PlayStation 3, their reaction to PlayStation 4, and basically their market lead right now, it's probably not even worth trying to risk that idea. You just come in and keep doing what you're doing. So I think that they'll have an option at the exact same price that PlayStation has, and then I think they will have a better option. And I think that's why they're so confident a year before launch saying we have the most powerful console, because I think they know that that Sony's probably not going to go to 500. So they're going to go to 500 because they're going to have a cheaper option. So with that, I think I'm okay with it.
So that aside, we know for Q1 of 2020, before even the Xbox One
Hang on a
S
second, I'm sorry. What do you think of the name? We didn't really talk about the
Series
name.
X?
Yeah, the Xbox Series X. We didn't really talk about it.
I mean, I think it's fine. It doesn't jump out to me as like, ooh, wow. It's fine, but I'm not in love with the name. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Xbox Series X, sure, that's fine. It's got all kinds of fun social media abbreviations going around out there too. But I mean, I think I just now almost confused Xbox Series X with Xbox One X. You know what I'm saying? So
are you really confused? Do you think that's a real thing? I've heard nothing
but
but reactions that it's confusing. And I
don't think I'm confused, but I just misspoke a second ago, and I think I said Xbox One X when I meant to say Xbox Series X.
Oh, okay.
Which I think could be one of those things at the at least beginning of the generation that could be a little bit. I mean, I don't think we're in a Wii U versus Wii situation here. because just the sole form factor of the box is completely different.
Completely different. You can't possibly confuse one for the other.
Yeah. But I do think that the name is fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I mean, it's one of those things where PlayStation 5, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
They have a pretty basic blah naming convention. Nintendo Switch, it took me a little bit to get used to that. That's fine. And Series X, I think, will be just like that. It just, going from Xbox to Xbox 360 was kind of a cool thing, but
from 2019 to 2017, we had the following released: the iPhone X, the iPhone X, the iPhone XR, the iPhone XS, the iPhone XS, the iPhone SX Max, the iPhone XS Max. Like, they released the same model, the same name twice in 2 different years, 2 different times. People buy those every year. And
well, yeah, it's because they know it's the new thing.
That's it. It has nothing to do with the name. It has everything to do with them wanting to buy the new thing. Nobody goes to the store and goes, I want the iPhone XR. They go to the store and they say, I want the new iPhone.
I want the Pro.
Yeah, like, I want the new iPhone. I want the new one. You're going to go into a store, and then I already hear it, and it bothers me a lot because I feel like it's such low-hanging fruit to take the stance that people won't buy it because they'll be too confused at the store. They're just going to, you walk in, and you're like, sir, I'd like to buy an Xbox. And they go, which one? The Xbox One X or the Xbox Series X? And in your trepidation on choosing which was the right one, you get flustered and buy a PlayStation instead. It's the most tired concept that I've ever heard, to be quite honest. And it's proven. I mean, we release cars with the same name every year. We release all kinds of stuff with the same name every year. For quite frank, this box stands up tall. It doesn't even look like any other console. I hate the idea. And I just think it's low-hanging fruit. I think people should try harder. What I think it is people they associate it with it, and they go, oh, well, that's an easy thing to say negative about it. And that's what they run with. I don't understand why this is a constant thing. I know everybody said it during the Wii U, and I get that because the Wii U box kind of looked like the black Wii. And so in that regards, I get it a little easier. But even then, you walk into the store and I want to get my son a new Xbox. Well, how will Grandma find? Grandma needs to talk to somebody that knows. Go to Best Buy.
Just ask Grandma for a gift card.
And say, my grandson wants a new Xbox. Well, here's the new Xbox. Thank you, young man. I'm going to go buy the new Xbox. I don't understand it. Sometimes I feel like I understand that not everybody is an informed consumer. That is not the point I'm trying to make. But at the same time, I feel like we treat folks like we treat these mysterious, mythical people that we speak of in these analogies like they're the dumbest people alive. It's like, look, I'm not telling you need to know how many teraflops it has. But I think if you walk into a store next November and you go, I'd like the new Xbox, got a feeling you're going to be able to get it. I think there's going to be pictures all over the wall of what it looks like. Like I think there's going to be store hangers and end caps with the picture on it. I think you'll be able to get just fine. I don't think this is going to be hard to do. I think if you type in Xbox on Amazon, I think it's going to be the first one that shows up. It's have a big picture. I don't know. Is it crazy? Am I sounding nuts? Are these people out there that they just can't make purchasing decisions?
I mean, I'm sure there are those people out there, but I think they're few and far between. You know what I'm saying?
That shouldn't be the rule. And if they are, right, we shouldn't market to that.
Right.
We shouldn't market to that level of intelligence.
Should be getting an X. Yes. But I did want to mention before, one thing that came out during the Game Awards too is they in the series. I'm sorry, not the series. In Q1 of 2020, this is even before we get to the new next generation of hardware. Mm-hmm. I don't remember who tweeted it out or what said it, but there's between January and March, there are 4 or 5 first-party titles being released in the Q1 2020. So even without the new console being released, Xbox has already got 4 or 5 exclusives in their lineup ready to shoot in the first quarter of 2020.
Unfortunately, we've been waiting on a couple of those for a long time. But they are finally coming. Yes.
Ori is a game that you've been touting for a long time that you are...
I beat it on Switch, by the way.
Waiting. You're waiting to play, and you didn't beat it on Xbox, did you?
I didn't beat it on Xbox. Nope. I did beat it on Switch. I finally sat down and I finished it off. It took me about a week and a half. It's still a great game. Very much looking forward to playing the second one. And it's now coming out, was it March 11th instead of February 11th. So we got a delay for about a month. Mm-hmm. So, we've waited this long for it. Might as well keep waiting. I mean, I don't think it's gonna. That's the power of Game Pass. You don't feel so bad because you're not coming out of $60 every time they release one. So they come as, and I was actually wondering about that last week when I was driving to work. Like, I wonder how much they might be spacing out titles because of Game Pass. Like, I wonder how that might be changing the way that they're thinking of calendars. Instead of thinking of, we have to launch a game, we have to launch one of our exclusive games in a Prime shopping window. They're probably taking the approach, we need to space these out so every 3-4 months, like, our subscribers are getting new content. We're not letting them go for too long without a marquee release. That probably makes a little bit more sense to me than making sure that they get in a January or in a Black Friday window or something like that.
Right. And the reason why I wanted to mention that they have these new games coming out before the new hardware is because they have promised for the Series X that it will be a legacy box, meaning all the way from Xbox, 360 and Xbox One, will work all those games across your library.
Yep.
So if you purchase Ori on Xbox One, you theoretically will be able to play it. I don't know if there's going to be any delays or anything in that, but you'll be able to play it on your Xbox Series X. So they're basically telling you that you can buy these games now without worry of not being able to play them when the new hotness comes out.
It's just going to be like Steam. I think all of this stuff. Exactly. Yeah, it's just going to be like Steam. You're just going to plug in your account into your new box, and here's your library, and keep going. Like, download your new stuff and keep playing.
Now, there's an interesting point in this article here. So this is from news.xbox.com. I want to read this sentence and get your thought. A couple sentences. So, building on our compatibility promise with Xbox Series X, we're also investing in consumer-friendly pathways to game ownership across generations, leading the way with our first-party titles, including Halo Infinite in 2020. We're committed to ensuring that games from Xbox Game Studios support cross-generation entitlements, and that your achievements and game saves will be shared across devices. So, I want to take one word out of this, entitlements, and discuss that real quick. So, from what I'm understanding here, my read on this is Halo Infinite, right? You'll buy Halo Infinite. You may have it on Xbox One because you don't have the Series X yet. You buy the entitlement of that game, but when you buy the Xbox Series X, you have a version that is compatible for Series X that gives you a higher fidelity. You don't have to re-buy it for a new console. Is that your take? Because that's my take.
Yeah, that's my take. I know there's been a lot of conversation on whether or not these next-gen boxes are going to charge us some sort of upgrade fees. Like if The Witcher 3, for example, gets like some sort of texture pack, they're going to sell that on the next
Witcher 3 won't. CDPR won't do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was just pulling it up because I know you're a fan. I'm just I'm using it as an example.
I could see EA doing something like that.
And it's interesting because you have to think that with this new level of power, that there's going to be a lot of great games like GTA 5, for example. Take that one. Like, that's a huge game. People play it all the time. RDR2. Just pick one. Pick one of these games, Apex, that everybody can do. It's going to take a lot of work to get all of the textures and all of that for next gen. Like, somebody's going to have... You don't just get to snap your fingers and do that. It's going to take work. So the question is, do they charge for that work? Or do they just include it in the price of the game?
Third parties may, but first parties I don't think will.
And I don't think you can do this like with Game Pass at all. You can't do any sort of, you can play Halo Infinite at 1080p on Game Pass, but if you want the 4K version, you've got to pay us. You can't do that. Like, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. So, no, I'm inclined to agree with you that if we buy the game, if we own the game, and it plays on Xbox One X, that you can expect to play the game in its best version that it can on Series X. And that would be my expectation as a customer. And I've heard a lot of podcasts for the last year talk about how game developers and publishers are trying to monetize upgrades and texture upgrades. And it's pretty, I don't know, scary, telling. I don't know how I feel about that, because I understand that it takes work, and I appreciate the developers working, but I'm not willing to pay extra for that unless like they just upped. At that point, I'd just rather you up the price of the game. Then the game just costs more. But then you run into the risk of like, well, if the game is $70 on Series X, but it's $60 on Xbox One X, well, I'll buy it on there and then I'll play it over here. Like, you can't do that either. So like I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of, at the end of the day, I feel like this is just speculation. I think people are just, going crazy with next gen ideas. I think it would be a huge change in the market. That's like one of those, you got to have an internet connection. You got to check in every day. Like, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to a lot of customers. A lot of customers that aren't represented on Twitter and podcasting, right? Like, that's mass market stuff. I don't think you want to do any of it. I mean, I would encourage Xbox not to go down any path like that at all. Like, you finally turn the ship. Like, don't go that way. Don't give them a reason. So I think it's kind of much ado about nothing. I think it's just like today. I think you'll buy the game. It'll play on Xbox One X. You'll play it on Series X as good as it can be, and that'll be it. It's just cross-gen. You'll be able to kind of hop between, all of your different hardware.
And just so I'm clear, like, at the beginning of the Xbox One generation, we had like Assassin's Creed Black Flag that was released on 360, and that was also released on Xbox One. My take or my reading of this is going to be that you just buy Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It's not going to have a defining console. You just buy the title, and it'll play either on the Xbox One or the Series X.
Like Steam. It doesn't matter what platform it's on. You just download the game and run it as good as your hardware can run it.
So no more of these definitive editions is what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And if they start re-releasing games, it'd be very interesting to see how they sell, because remasters have been like huge, like very popular this generation, and I'm okay with remastering. Either like, it's weird, right? Because it's a sliding scale. You feel like a hypocrite if you take a defining stance, because I love remastering an old game that's not available on new gen. Like, totally fine with that. I'm okay with remastering or re-releasing a game that came out late last gen that not everybody on the new gen has. So you do that, and that's okay. But if you just pick the same game that we already have and you remaster it and sell it again, and that's the only way to play it, that's bad. Like, that's when nobody's happy.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about the Xbox Series X, the controller, some of the releases, and some of the methodology going forward. What else did you want to talk about for this episode, good sir?
That's it, man. Yeah, I think that was when I started pinging you. I mean, we have new consoles. This is awesome. It's fun to podcast. I love buying new hardware. It's so much fun. So I just wanted to get some thoughts down. I mean, we can talk about games we've been playing, but really that's it.
So as far as games I've been playing, it's a broken record. Apex. Nobody wants to hear me talk about Apex.
State of the Apex Empire podcast.
State of the Apex. I need the Apex. The Xbox Series Apex.
You played Star Wars. You beat the whole game. What are you talking about?
Yeah, didn't we talk about that last time?
Did we? I don't remember. I know we talked about Star Wars last time, but I don't remember if you talked about.
I did play, and I have 1K'd Jedi Fallen Order. Wow. Really good game. I like it. I think it should have been represented in some way at the Game Awards. It definitely should have won for score as far as like the audio score, because the audio score was fantastic in that game.
Sayonara Wild Hearts, man.
You cannot tell me that Sayonara Wild Hearts has a better musical score than Jedi Fallen Order, which was composed by two world-class composers, that was recorded by the London Symphony Orchestra in Abbey Road Studios.
Okay, where it was recorded has nothing to do with whether or not the sound is good or not.
It sounds fantastic.
I'm glad you really, really like it.
It was really good. But yeah, I did enjoy that game a lot. I hope that they actually give us some more content to it, because once you kind of 1K a game, you kind of are ready to move on to something different, which is kind of sad, because I loved my experience. I loved all of my time with Jedi Fallen Order. It would be kind of cool just to have some expansions, like put another world in there to go explore. I would gladly pay EA $20 or whatever to go get another world to explore. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was a fantastic game. It is one of my top 5 games for 2019.
Wow. Well, okay. That's good. I have not played it as much as you. I've sunk a few hours into it now, and it is good. I agree with you. It's a triple A game. It's what you expect it to be, but I don't share the same affinity for it that you do. I don't think. I have been playing. I played Reach. We beat Reach. I played it with Sean Capri over there from.
Fantastic game.
Yeah. It is my favorite Halo game. I can say that. I can easily say that. You were spot on. It is in terms of campaign. And at first, I was a little hesitant to say that because I didn't know if it was because I was playing with friends. I was like, am I just having a lot of fun playing it, or do I actually think that this is my favorite Halo campaign? And maybe 3/4 in, I was like, no, this is my favorite Halo campaign. And then at the end, I was like, this is absolutely my favorite Halo campaign.
It's got really compelling characters. Like,
it does.
The character development in that game is fantastic.
And the whole like final stand and everything, it's super fun and super cool.
That last mission is so good.
Yeah, and it's just big action movie stuff, and it was made better playing with friends, for sure. But having played, I've done what now? I've done Halo 1, 2, 3, and I've played a little bit of 5, and then I beat Reach. So I've never played ODST.
ODST is really good too.
I booted up 4 and I wasn't really feeling it. I think that was because I was kind of like marathoning Halo. Like by the time I got to 4, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to play this anymore. But Reach was great, and I will say I think this might be misplaced. I don't want to get my hopes up because I wouldn't consider myself like a Halo fan, right? So, but having played Reach, I was like, man, I really hope that Infinite is like this, or is a better, like this is kind of the level that I want to, but like that's unfair because Reach is Bungie, right? Like that's Destiny developers, and then
that was the last one,
right? So Infinite's going to be a completely different thing, but I'm happy that I played Reach before Infinite came out because I think I'll be more excited to at least give Infinite a try now than I would have been previously.
Donnie, please try ODST. I think you will really like ODST as well.
Is it in
maybe
the
not as much
collection?
as Reach? It is. Okay. And if you have Game Pass, you have it already. Cool. If you don't have Game Pass, it's like $5 to add on to it.
Oh, I got you.
But it is in that little selector screen. You can go Halo 3 ODST and just play away.
Have you played Reach?
I've played the first mission or two.
So you've seen it, like the Master Chief Collection essentially just got like re-released. It's completely remade. The menus, the OS, like all of it's completely done over. I had to re-download everything, really, and it does look fantastic. I agree with you there. It looks amazing. We booted up. We had a lot of issues getting off the ground because I came home. I had set up to download away, and I got home and it wasn't finished downloading. I was like, why does it take 70 gigabytes to download? And it was re-downloading all of it, like the entire thing. But it is fantastic. It looks great. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Continue with ODS.
No, that's fine. I would just... Since you enjoyed Halo Reach's story, the story of ODST is also really good. You don't play as a Spartan.
Okay.
At all. Like you are at ODST. So it's got some really good character development in that as well. So I think that kind of leading from what you've told me about your enjoyment with Reach, I think you'll also really enjoy ODST. So
one of the cool things with Reach was that like the tone, like the environments and the setting are like completely different, right? It felt very. I wasn't even telling like we were riding like dune buggies like through like this grass field stuff. I was like, that feels like Jurassic Park game. Like I'm almost expecting like dinosaurs to pop out of like the forest or pterodactyls to come flying down for some point. It's a completely different feel, which I really enjoyed. I think that it was almost horror-esque. Right, there were times we were like going through buildings where people are just dead and stuff, and they're like hung up on the walls, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what game are we playing?" I'm sure this is Dead Space. Like, this is a little different. So, I like that. I like that about it.
Yeah, but definitely at least try ODST. I think you will find enjoyment there as well. Speaking of finding enjoyment, is there anything on the horizon that you're looking forward to aside from Ori coming up on the Xbox?
Ooh, I've been trying, to be honest with you, I've had my head down for so many weeks trying to clear things up to get off the ground. So like Star Wars, I finally got to Star Wars I finally got into Star Wars where like when it came out, like I tried to play it, but then I was playing so many other things, juggling so many things, I just put it on the shelf. Now I'm here to play Star Wars. So I officially started that last night. Here to play Star Wars, to beat Star Wars. So I'll be doing that before I can get back to Darksiders. So I got to do that too. I'm playing Darksiders over on Stadia. So that'll be what I'm doing after Star Wars. So and I think that's kind of where my head is right now. I got Star Wars and the Darksiders. I really don't know what's coming out after that. Like I don't know what I've already purchased from Best Buy when my GCU expired and all that. I mean, I think coming up for 2020, if you will, especially like the first half, I'm very, very, very excited to play Dying Light 2. I have no idea if it's gonna. I expect it to be delayed until next gen. Until like I think until I have that game in my hand, I will continue to be expecting to wake up and hear that the game is being delayed. So I'll be definitely doing Dying Light 2 and then Cyberpunk. I've got that one. I'll be playing that one, and I want that one on the X and all the Ks and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Cyberpunk will be a good one for sure.
Yeah.
That's probably on my radar is, for the next game coming out. I think that's the only game that I have pre-ordered at this moment is the Cyberpunk game. So for me, I'm just kind of going back and playing some old games. In fact, I actually played some Detroit Become Human on the other system recently. So it's like I was talking to somebody at work about it, and I kind of described it as the best version of a Telltale game.
Yeah, no, that's spot on.
It's fantastic as far as like the choices and things. So, really did enjoy my playing with that. So I'm gonna hopefully finish that before too long. Before year's end, Donnie. Before year's end, I would love to be able to get back into Zelda Breath of the Wild
Great
and
game.
get a little bit farther. I've only beaten one Divine Beast, the one that looks like a giraffe.
Yep.
So beat another Divine Beast, maybe move our way towards the Master Sword. I do think that I would like to at least get that game under my belt at some point, because we're halfway through the generation now, I think, on the Switch, and I've had this game since day one. But I do want to play more of that before the end of the year comes out, so that's kind of on my list as well, on the high list. And then Gears, obviously, I need to get to Gears 5.
Gears
and
Tactics.
all the other ones.
Tactics is coming out
soon too.
Yeah, and that looks fantastic. Oh, I'm so excited for that. Still got to play it in the PC. That is a game I will definitely play in the PC. I'll whip out the keyboard and mouse and play it and have a blast.
I don't believe it's coming to Xbox yet, if at all.
Right.
So definitely that is a tactics game, so it wants the mouse and keyboard.
They said, or because in the trailer and the announcement, I was reading the Xbox Wire when it right after it came out. It's all PC, right? And I posted in our Discord, and Kyle sent me a blog post from 2 years ago where they confirmed that it was coming to Xbox. And yeah, so my belief is that we won't be able to play Gears Tactics at launch on Xbox. I think it's just going to be on the PC. I think they're building this game for PC players first, and maybe it'll come down later. But we'll see. Maybe it pops the same day. But at this point, I'm expecting to play it on my PC. But very, very excited for that one. And then of course Ori. March. It's the day after my birthday. I'll definitely sit down and give that one a go and have an enjoyable weekend with that one.
And also, since we last talked, they released Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition on Xbox Game Pass for PC.
Downloaded.
So if you wanted to get back and get in the saddle again, I did do like one game on that, and so I like that game. Just RTS is really the only thing I ever played on my PC before, and that was one of the ones I played back in the day. But seeing it up with the new textures and everything, it looks really, really good. If you were a fan of Age of Empires back in the day,
I really love that the app, like the beta app, like it's very enjoyable. I like going in and just having all these games. I've never been one to just want to sit here and play games on my PC. I didn't grow up that way. I don't know. It's just like a mental thing. It's just a weird thing. I don't do it. I tried one point in my life to adopt the PC platform, and it's like, I don't know, I have no will to sit down and play a game that way, except for like Sims Golf or RTS games, or like the things that are only playable on PC. So, but I really like the Xbox beta app that we have with the Game Pass the titles and all that. I'd much rather use that than Steam. So I have downloaded a few games. I downloaded Crosscode. It's been on my indie list for a long time. I just haven't had time to play it. But I downloaded Crosscode and Age of Empires because I was watching Garrett Bland play it, and it looks awesome. It looked really, really good. And I know it caught Jack's attention. Jack really liked it too. So I downloaded it, and we just haven't got there yet. I haven't found a lull. I haven't found a window. I've just been going from game to game to game to game to game. I was looking over my thing. I'm still playing Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair. You should get that game. It's good. Yooka-Laylee, it's 2D side-scrolling game, not the 3D thing that came out, not that one, the 2D one.
I don't know if I'm good for Yooka-Laylee games. I tried Yeah, I tried the ukulele, the 3D platformer game on
that's the
Xbox.
problem. You tried it. You
It's
shouldn't
not my
have.
jam.
You should have just played this one. Yeah, I'm telling you, this one's better than that one. I bought that Arise game that we saw. That was in PlayStation's State of Play a while back. I think The Last of Us one, but it came on Xbox too, and it was very like Journey-esque in the trailer and everything. I played that. I got through
That
this.
wasn't Game Pass?
I don't know if it was or not. I pre-ordered it, so I bought it before it came out. It was only $20. I played, I think, through like the second chapter. It's okay. It's just okay. It was really pretty looking. It's definitely like it's apparent that they're trying to Journey, or like they're trying to be like Journey, but the gameplay's not as smooth, in my opinion, especially like the cinematic production. And I mean, it makes sense. Journey was, funded by PlayStation, held to that standard. It's very much an indie team. So I don't want to be too hard on it. I enjoyed it. It has, moments where it tries to give you feels and stuff like that, but it has like a time mechanic that alters the world. So like you raise and lower things. I don't know. It's just like jump around kind of ride. It just, I don't know, it got a little samey after a couple hours and I quit playing it. I don't know if I'll go back to it or not, but it's real pretty. I did enjoy it. Visually, it's pretty nice.
Okay, could see that.
Yeah.
I thought that game was part of Game Pass, but of course, coming out on Game Pass very soon, if it's not already, is the Untitled Goose Game.
Yes.
I am very excited to at least just like mess around with this game to see what it's all about. But that's really the only thing that's new, quote unquote, that I'm looking forward to playing this year.
Goose Game is better as a meme on social media than it is the game itself.
As a game?
Yeah. But it is still funny. It's still funny just to do mean things as a goose. Like, just if you ever wanted to have that simulator, it's fun. I just don't know. I wasn't, like, enthralled and engrossed with, like, trying to complete all the checklists and everything. I got through, like, the first, there's not, like, worlds or missions, but you go through, like, blocks. So, like, you're in, like, the garden area, and then you go into, like, the town area. So I got through a few of them, and then I was like, okay, I get it. I'm good. And I'm done. Like, I laid it down. It's not like, I wasn't like, oh, my God, I've got to beat this game. It didn't grab me like that. But, my wife and daughter freaking love that game, Nathan. Because to them, just walking and honking at people is like, that's the game. Like, they're not worried about beating it or completing it. They don't care. They just think it's funny to go steal stuff, throw it in the water, splash people with things, take kids' toys. They just think that's funny, to be a mean, malevolent duck or goose.
Well, whatever works for them, right? I mean, if they're having fun, they're having fun.
That's all that matters.
I did want to ask you one more question before we go. That just popped into my head. So you, sir, you have both Stadia and you have xCloud.
I do. I have both.
So I'm wondering if you have any more, comparison thoughts between the two, what you've seen so far, if you have any, any revelations since the last time we talked.
No. To answer your question in short, no, I don't. I got my new Chromebook Slate, my Pixel Slate tablet. Which is awesome because it runs xCloud natively, or it's built more off of so the xCloud isn't Xbox game streaming. The app isn't available for my Pixelbook. I think because it sees it very much as like a laptop, Google categorizes all their stuff, even though it runs the same OS and can run apps and everything. Like, this is a laptop, that's a tablet. Tablets are mobile devices, so it gets mobile stuff faster. The Google Slate has it, so I definitely pulled out the Slate, hooked up to it and played it. No, my impressions that we did a big old comparison on the Google Stadia show, our last one. My comparisons haven't changed from there. I think xCloud is really, really good. I think visually, it's better. I think there's like the screens and the visual fidelity that I get, I think they just look better than what I see on Stadia. And I know it may not be an app comparison because I'm playing Stadia mostly on TVs. And then I'm playing, xCloud's only available in Android devices on mobile. But I definitely do, especially at least phone-to-phone, tablet-to-tablet comparison. It looks great. It just doesn't, it's not quite there on the latency. It's just not, it's not the same. It's just a little off. It's not like unplayable. It's not bad. It's just a little off. And the comparison I gave to it is, it's so close that I think if you just played xCloud and you didn't play Stadia, I think you'd get used to it. And I don't think you'd even notice it because it's close. They're real close. But and I don't want to sound like I'm overhyping it, but Nathan, when you play Stadia on the Chromecast using the Stadia controller, at times it's like 1-to-1. Like, you can't tell. I'm sitting there playing. I'm like, I have no idea. And I've given it to other people and not told them what it is, and they can't tell you. Like, you just don't know. Yeah, whereas xCloud, even the best experience I had, it still felt like I was playing a game that was being streamed, even if it was good. Right? So I think certain games, the example that I mentioned, I think Madden, for example, is awesome in xCloud. And that's the game that I play most, Madden and WWE, because they're super fun to play on my tablet, like on the go, spin up, play a quarter of football, like just mess around. But also on Madden, if you think about it, like your moment-to-moment gameplay, it's like in menus. You're picking the play, you're checking out the huddle, like it's not a constant movement. Whereas I tried to play Forza. Playing Forza over xCloud is not enjoyable. I can't imagine if someone like you who's played a lot of Forza, more than I have, that I can't imagine unless it just ran terribly for me that you have found a better experience. Because I played Forza, I think, for about 15 minutes and was like, I never want to play this game this way. Because if you're a little off in Forza, you're talking about the difference between you careening off the road, if you're going really, really fast trying to take a corner, like that tactile feel, and like that feather of the stick, that means everything. That's whether or not you're getting the corner or not. And if you're not getting the corner when you feel like you should, or if it's overcorrecting and you're going careening off, like that was borderline unplayable for me. And it's not because the game didn't run well at all. From what I say, it looked fantastic. It looked great. It looked like Forza. It just wasn't, it didn't feel like Forza when I was playing at home. I felt like I was terrible at Forza all of a sudden. I was like, wait a minute. I've beat this game. Like,
I've done this before.
Like, I know how to play Forza.
Like Anakin, in episode 3, he gets caught by the ratio. Wait a minute. We're better than this.
But speaking of Forza, my question to you was, have you played Forza Battle Royale?
I have not yet, actually. Have you? I didn't even know if it was out yet.
No, I don't even know if it's out yet either. I must say, I like I said, I've had my head down playing all these indies and stuff and wrapping up Star Wars. So, but when it came out, I instantly thought of you and Mo, and I didn't know if you guys would get lost into something like that. I've never done like PvP races in Forza. That's not really what I play Forza for. Obviously, I'm probably not good enough to play it that way either. So the idea of it didn't necessarily catch me, but I did think it was really, really cool. I was listening to Sean talk about it on the Xbox Drive, and it is a really neat concept. I gotta admit, when all the Battle Royale craze happened, we had Battle Royale Tetris and Battle Royale shooters and Battle Royale, melee fighters, I never thought of a Battle Royale racer, and that sounds awesome. To be honest with you, I know this has nothing to do with Forza, and I apologize, but I kind of want Battle Royale Twisted Metal. That sounds amazing. Or Battle Royale Mario Kart, like battle mode. Like, I want that too. Like, either one of those things sound incredible to me. I would love that. I would love, smash them up, shoot shells, blow up stuff, Battle Royale Kart Racer. That would be fantastic.
It did launch, by the way, on Friday the 13th of December.
Makes sense.
That's called Eliminator. 72 players can fight to be the number one remaining car.
Like, do you all line up in one continuous race, or do you get just put in a shared world and you're constantly going?
It looks like it's a shared world where if you come across somebody else, you do like a head-to-head race, and then whoever doesn't win gets eliminated, and you're still avoiding the last or the ring as it closes in on you.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, I do need to get out and check that out, actually. So thank you for reminding me about that. I'll probably try to check that out either today or tomorrow. But that is all, Donnie, that I had to discuss on this episode. We've had a lot of news as far as the Xbox Series X. I do plan on adding to the end of this episode a little review of a little product that I have. So feel free to listen on after Donnie and I sign off. We'll have a little review put at the end here. Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else, Donnie?
No, man. We'll see you in a new year, listeners. It's going to be a new, exciting year for Xbox.
New exciting year for Xbox and for PSVG at the house party and all this other fan stuff we got going on. I know it's going to be a good... 2020 is going to be a good year.
What a year to have the house party. New consoles launches, new games, they're going to announce all that. Like, E3 is going to be huge. Can't wait.
You need to get a hold of somebody at Xbox and say, hey, we're having a big old thing over during E3. We're calling it E3 Central. Just send us an Xbox One Series X that we can play. get some demos to our people over here. Oh, man. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you again for listening. The show is not over. If you want to stick around for a few more minutes and listen to me yammer on about a headset, feel free. But other than that, we thank you for listening this month, and this year. Because we're closing out 2019. And I guess we're closing out the decade, 2009 through 2019. Because I guess 00 is the new year, and 10 is a 0, and 20 is a 0. So anyway.
Timely you mentioned that. Next week I'm going to do a little podcast with the Board of Video Games crew. We're going to talk about our favorite games of the decade. Have a little retrospective.
That is a tough discussion. There's been a lot of great games this decade. Rather.
I mean, I'm sure I'm going to regurgitate it all, but the first thing I said to Kyle when I sat down to try and make a list is we're only supposed to do 10. And I immediately ran off like 40 or 50 candidates, like instantly. I was very deep, and I was like, because it's one of these things where I'm really happy we're doing favorites and not like the definitive or quintessential or anything like that.
Critical darling, yeah.
Right, because like if we were doing those, I mean, I feel capable of doing those lists. I just wouldn't have any passion or like care into it, because all of the games that I would recommend for like defining the generation are games I don't play. Is like Apex and Fortnite and Minecraft and like all these types of games. Like I would throw all those in there, like The Witcher 3. Like there's a lot of games this generation I think are defining standouts, but they're not necessarily my favorites. But at the same time, man, I ran 40 or 50 deep, and it's interesting because I can give you a quick like 4. I think most people listen to our podcast know. But then the question is like, how do I pick out the other 6, and how do I choose these 6 over any other 6 because I like them all so much? It's very somewhat nerve-wracking. So
yeah,
it's tough.
So look forward to Board with Video Games with their top 10 of the decade.
Yeah.
Or was that Board with Everything?
I don't know.
The Board with genre.
I think it's Board with Video Games. I think it's, because this week they're doing board games. Next week we're going to do video games.
Okay. Very good. All right. Again, thank you for listening. And the state of the Xbox has never been stronger.